Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start. Hopefully Bill will roll right in here in a moment. So let's call this a special meeting to order at 4:20 PM. And let's do a roll call. DJ? Here. Glenn?
Here.
Gene? Here. Alex? Here. And like I say, we're waiting for Bill's arrival shortly. We will be now going, or considering, going into executive session to discuss the management of Running Iron Ranch and to discuss logistical and legal considerations related to the district manager position. Subject matters pursuant to CRS section 24-6-4024B. For the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions from the district's general counsel on subject matters, and CRS section 24-6-4024E1 to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiations with respect to subject matters, and CRS section 24-6-402FI regarding personnel matters as to the logistical and legal considerations related to the district manager position. I hear a motion to go into executive session.
So made.
Second. Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And Bill is walking through the door.
Hello.
Roll call, you are now here, I assume?
I am now here.
And
Thanks for the phone call.
we have just voted to go into executive session, so everybody in the will be put in the waiting room for a bit, and hopefully we'll see you back at 5 PM. No, I just was going into.
Okay, so let's have Glenn, okay, but the recording is still on until Mike says something. Yeah.
All right,
I
now
want
do
to-
we,
I don't know, we had 3 against 1 up.
do we have to actually,
So the remaining portion of the discussion that occurs in executive session will constitute attorney-client privilege communications, and therefore you can turn off the recording at this time.
Marcus?
I never seen your face, you know, keep the camera off.
No, I do way too many secrets. Yeah, anytime, yeah, like question. Anytime you want to see my smiling face, just ask.
Okay, I'm gonna start doing a lot of meetings now.
How do you guys like your, system?
We like it.
Yeah, I can tell you from being on Zoom, I like yours, but that's all my. It works really well, I can hear you guys well.
Recommend it
What's
to-
that? Brand? From the back, like late comes all, okay. I heard some even.
I'm saying, once it-
During the special meeting. We need to do that before we. You got out of executive. Yeah, but you need to adjourn the special meeting. We need to. Thank you.
I second.
Motion and second to adjourn the special meeting, all in favor?
Aye.
Please. Well, Glenn, can you hear?
Glenn.
Glenn.
I just one point, I will approve exiting the special meeting at which no decisions were made.
Thanks. Now we're taking the vote to end the special meeting and waiting for your vote.
I said yes, I'm voting yes to end the special meeting, just noting that
Okay.
at that meeting, no decisions were made. I didn't hear that, but it could be my connection.
Thank you.
No worries, thanks. So now let's call to order the regular meeting, for Goshen Area Water and Sanitation District, and, let's do our roll call. Bill? Here. BJ? Here. Glenn?
Here, so to speak.
Gene? Here. Alex? Here. Okay. Consideration of the agenda, are there any comments, on,
I'd like to approve the agenda with the addition of considering a special meeting next week.
second, okay? You wanna set a date and a time?
Well, let's approve the agenda first.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda with that addition. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay,
I would like to make a motion that we hold a special meeting on Monday, this coming Monday, the 15th at 10 o'clock.
for the purpose of,
For the purpose of discussing candidates for the manager's position.
okay? We have that motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing
Uh,
none.
do we want to let them know it's discussion and possible publication of finalists?
If we need to, I guess.
Yeah.
There is a rule out there that we have to create a short list, if you will, and that has to be publicized, and there's a minimum 14-day period. So we want to meet that, and then at the end of the 14-day period, probably at the next meeting-ish.
Yeah.
We would make an offer to whoever the candidate is, whoever the board chooses, so, I think, hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, all right, thanks. Approval of minutes of the August 14th special meeting, anybody have any comments there? Your
I
motion
move to approve. I move to approve.
Second that.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, we have a few special requests on the agenda, but any public comment?
Can I make a suggestion to the audience that you shift on down towards the window?
Sorry, I was like.
Possibly. On, huh? Well, I can't see you if I do that. Or do you set that? Because it's all by
Okay, so this is our public comments portion for anybody who has comments on a subject that's not on the agenda.
Well.
I think Candace has her hand up.
Yep, you guys. Okay, Candace, go ahead.
I do, I don't know what your item is on the agenda about Running Iron Ranch, but I just want everybody to know, Gene, that you and I had exchanged email correspondence about a joint work session between the San Juan Water Conservancy District and the PAWS to discuss management of the Running Iron Ranch. And your response was that with all of the other items on your agenda, and I see you have a full agenda tonight, that you wouldn't be getting to that until sometime in October. So I will reiterate here that it is our desire to have that discussion, and we had invited that meeting, and I still hope to have a response that includes some sort of meeting to have that discussion before you guys take some action. And we should try and do that together. Thank you.
All right, thanks for your comments. I'm guessing there could be some discussion, whether it's at the subcommittee level or the whole board. I don't know. To my knowledge, we haven't, other than, I think you said in your text or email to me that you'd like to see it start at the subcommittee level.
I'm agnostic about that, and maybe we can talk about that, offline, unless your board wants to make a specific decision. But I think getting the boards together, whether it's a subgroup or whether it's, it's going to be a public meeting, so anybody can attend. But I do think that it's worth having some discussion with some information in front of us to be able to make reasonable and cost-effective decisions about managing the ranch. So I hope that whatever your consideration item is today, that it includes moving forward with that discussion with the Conservancy District.
I believe
And I'm
there's
happy to
already
talk to
been,
you offline about how we schedule that.
I believe there's already been some discussion amongst our attorneys, and I'm sure there'll be more. So come October, we'll see what's going to shake out and hopefully make some progress. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet. Anybody
So
in the audience
I'm
here?
assuming that we're gonna welcome public comment during the agenda items.
Absolutely. Anything that's not on the agenda of interest to anybody? If not, I don't see any other hands raised. So we will move on from public comment. And number 6 on the agenda is consideration of request for reimbursement of 2025 capital investment fees for Habitat for Humanity. Just to bring everybody up to speed who may have not been here before, all of the entities who are requesting fee forgiveness have in the past given us a lot of information, some very professionally well done PowerPoints. And I think the board is pretty well appraised of all the facts after looking at those PowerPoints and the physical and verbal presentation that was made at past meetings. So I guess I would open it up to Habitat. Do you have any additional information you'd like to share with you?
I didn't have anything more to add, just, did anybody have any questions about the information that was provided?
I think you've been excellent at handling all the questions that have been asked. Sorry for all the phone calls.
No worries. No, I appreciate the due diligence. Yeah, and could I just do a show of hands of, I've got some board members and partner families in the room just to, I don't know, be here to represent Habitat tonight. Appreciate your consideration on this, and I know it's not an easy decision.
Well, thanks everybody for coming. We appreciate the more public, open discussion there is, the better. There's a lot of talk about full disclosure and transparency. We're trying to do that. And that's why you're here, and that's why others come and want updates as well. So again, can't say enough thanks for coming. So not hearing any further.
I would can I move to approve the request for reimbursement of 2025 capital investment fees for Habitat for Humanity?
I would like to make one comment before we do that.
Well, we don't have a second.
Do we do that after? I'll second that.
We got a motion and a second to waive the fees for Habitat for Humanity. Any further discussion, Alex?
Yeah, so I voted a solid no on this last time. And I've talked with Habitat, I've talked with other board members, I've talked to members of the community. And I am gonna push for us to do a new rate study going forward. And with that being said, I think that I'm okay this year with continuing the model of the past, which is to allow these houses to be built. I know that these houses don't get built with a short notice, no. And I understand it was a reimbursement. But I think you had some legitimate feelings that it would be approved based on past experience, and that is why I'm changing my vote on that tonight. So I wanted to make that clear. But going forward with the new rate study, we'll have to plug in what we can do in the future, and I'm not making any future promises.
I haven't really changed my mind. Anybody who has been at the meetings has heard me say I'm an apartment guy. I think that's the community right now anyway is better served by that. And I really liked what Glenn said online at our last meeting, which was, why is a 300 square foot studio paying the same impact fee as a 10,000 square foot house? So in addition to a rate study and maybe looking at, you know, why we're doing fixture counts, why we're doing those kinds of things. I think maybe in the future, we could maybe even consider some other type of waivers or fee forgiveness that would impact the district's budget less and hopefully involve other people. I mean, I gotta say, we have at least one commissioner here. In the newspaper, if you read it today, there's a tiny home subdivision thing that can happen in its current form. It may still happen down on Highway 84. The town of Pagosa, I think, in the past, somehow got some property to make affordable housing on, but that never happened. I don't want to, you know, you clarify if you want, James, but there are other entities, I think, that could be assisting in the affordable housing. What's the word? The challenge that we're seeing in the community right now. And so I just want you to know that that's where I'm coming from, and I'll be voting no. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we all in favor of the request for reimbursement to Habitat for Humanity? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Glenn, did you say aye?
I did, yes, aye.
I'll vote nay, so it passes 4-1.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thanks all for coming.
Number 7 is consideration of request for waiver of 2025 capital investment fees from Pagosa Springs Community Development Corporation. Leah?
Emily's online.
She was.
I am.
Okay.
I am.
You're on.
Yes, good evening, directors. Thank you so much for allowing me to attend virtually. I did have a family event that's been planned for over a year, and I really found myself in a pickle. So I appreciate that you have let me come before you again today. At our last meeting, you had asked me for several different data points and topics that you wanted me to produce for you. One of them being the AMI that we are serving and who we are serving, and I provided that in writing to you. Secondly, being how much contribution has come from other organizations so that you could compare it to some of the work that you all have been doing. And I did that. And then we've also had the opportunity now to run the numbers of what the cost of the house will be if these waivers are not granted. And it puts our DOLA grant at jeopardy and our funding that we got for Prop 123 is in jeopardy as well. If you also choose not to give the waivers for this project, I'm not sure that we can build in phase 2 because we can't hit the 120% AMI that the county deeded us those properties with. And so we are finding ourselves on a double-edged sword because if we do not produce housing, according to our More Housing Now grant, if we don't have some measurable impact every year, then we're in violation of the grant. The CDC has been put in a very bad position here, and I would just ask for your consideration. I know that we have some board members and folks representing the CDC in the audience. And I would be happy to answer any questions for the materials that I provided you that you had asked me for.
Thank you, Emily. Alex, you've got some questions?
So, I went back through to our March 14th, 2024 and the April 18th, 2024 board meetings and pulled the minutes from those. And I'm comparing that with the information that I received via Bill Hudson from Emily Lashbrook, I believe. And in there, we approved 8 2024 projects that will provide housing for applicants earning 80% of AMI or below. The board agreed that the projects must qualify as 80% or below upon completion. And then we approved 2 at 80 to 100%. And currently we have 7 properties that are either in closing or are sold that are at 81, 82, 84, 84, 81, 90, and 80. So I have a little bit of concern going forward that we made an agreement that we were going to keep 8 out of 10 of those houses at under 80% AMI, and we've hit that target at or under, I believe. And we've hit that target on 1 house out of 7.
Can I respond?
That's the concern that I have. Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe that I presented 80 and below because that would be a direct conflict with Habitat for Humanity. And I would not want to endanger their work and what they were doing. I said that we would serve 8 homes in the 80 percentile, which we have done, and we would serve 2 homes between 80 and 100, and they'll fall in there somewhere, which we have done. We now have gone under contract on house number 7, and we are about to go under contract on house number 8. Both of those individuals are in the 80% AMI. So if that was written that way, I apologize, but that was never my presentation from the very beginning. I absolutely did not want to endanger the Habitat for Humanity project whatsoever.
Well, unfortunately, we had unanimously approved minutes, that state that this was 80% or below.
Well, can we hear from board members who were there that heard this presentation and voted on this? Glenn and Bill, you heard what I said. You know where I stood.
Well, my impression was that it was 80% and below, and that it wouldn't really make, again, and I think everybody's operating in good faith, but if you try and say you have a certain number at 80 and below, and then a certain number between 80 and 100, that doesn't really dovetail. It's 80 and below, 80 to 100. Having said that, since I've been, you might say, a supporter of the project, but probably even a skeptical supporter, because I just didn't think you could get it done, frankly, and you keep coming back. I do think those AMIs that you've come up with are pretty darn close, given the market that you're operating with. But I think I do agree with Alex that, technically, we were hoping for 80 and below, and then 2 between 81 and 100. But I can understand how people had, the discussion was pretty vibrant, and a lot of numbers were being thrown around, and I can appreciate that you had a different understanding. So there's no, but my impression was 80 and below, and then 80, 81 to 100. But having said that, I'm very impressed in this market that you're really getting close to the 80, and I had feared that it would be really close to 100, and even requests into the quote unquote missing middle, and none of that has happened. So I'm still supportive, but I think Alex is right on the technical, I support Alex's reading.
So Alex, please accept my apology. That was never my intention. I didn't get to see, I failed to read the minutes after to correct it at that time, but that was not my intention. I knew that there's a portion of people right at the 80% AMI that cannot qualify for a habitat, but they still work in our community. And again, I want to collaborate with Habitat, and we work together, and I don't want to endanger their market.
Any other?
I don't think, I'm not in any way trying to be confrontational. I'm trying to get to an understanding here. So I don't think the apology was necessary. And I think you've done an excellent job with the houses that you've built so far. I will say that as well.
Thank
Any
you.
further board interaction?
And I would say I have to agree with Glenn. That was my understanding, that there were gonna be, 8 of the homes were gonna be at 80 and below, when we voted on it. So whether it was misrepresented, that was my understanding, was the same as Glenn's. And I'm also impressed that you did get in below 90, because I know how hard that is in this environment.
DJ? I'm good, so appreciate it. Okay. I guess I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but, all you guys, your PowerPoints were excellent, organized. You should be, congratulated on the good job that you do. However, I still believe it is not in our core. We are a water and sanitation district, and there are other players out there, for lack of a better way to say it, who maybe aren't playing as much as they could. We've got some very heavy US EPA and Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment rules that we're having to meet. We've got unacceptable water loss and unacceptable infiltration into our sewer system. That's our core. And I don't believe waiver of fees is conducive to reaching those goals, so.
Commissioner Brown has it.
More on that.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Director. Do you mind if I just address you from here since
That's my turn.
I'm trapped?
Just speak up.
I just want to make sure that you received, because you had asked me what the county has invested, and I sent that in. I don't know if you got it. I understand it may have been delayed, but I know it was coming in with CDC's packet. Because you're a fan of rentals, the county donated the land plus in kind and money for the $2 million project on Hot Springs Boulevard that created 34 rentals in the Rose Mountain project. We authorized and spent 320, and these are just gonna be round numbers, so forgive me. The county authorized $326,000 of the $2.1 million ARPA funds that we received to the Archuleta County Housing Authority for remodel, so it'd make the homes more livable, also rentals. Archuleta County Housing Authority was donated 11 properties recently to the tune of $217,000. Archuleta County Housing Corp., who houses over 160 people within our community
In apartments.
in apartments, rentals. We gave them $550,380 to make it more livable. Habitat for Humanity, the county's donated 20 tax lien properties to the tune of $630,000. Our ARPA grant fund matching that was required with CDC project. We wrote a check for $100,000 out of our ARPA funds to cover that. Pagosa Springs CDC, we donated 35 tax lien properties worth about $436,000. We waived permit fees for the CDC to the tune of $12,000 plus. The county submitted to the CDC contingency fund $345,000 for phase 1. And in phase 2, we committed another $250,000. We have almost $5 million in over a few years. These projects have started because of the county, arguably. And what the county has put forth in effort into making these houses available. And I believe, Director Contis, you being a recipient of a similar type housing, I think it's arguable you wouldn't even live here if you didn't get a house. This is exactly what the people that are living here are facing. Because they will not, the people that cannot get a house will not stay. But perhaps their spouses, their children, the families that we create, the neighborhoods that we've invested in, which, by the way, is bringing a $5 million return on your investment of the $2 million water line based upon the housing projects between CDC, Habitat, and all the private lands we've opened up by creating roads to these properties, which PAWS would be receiving the grand sum of 100% nothing if these projects did not occur. None of us can do this by ourselves. PAWS cannot do it alone. You come to the county or to other neighbors for things from time to time. We all depend upon one another. And in looking at your mission statement, it says that our mission statement, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is what's online, is to make sure our water resources and our collection and treatment of wastewater is something our customers can depend upon now and into the future.
That is our mission statement.
I would suggest that that's based upon investment, not only in your infrastructure, but in the people that it takes to run PAWS D. Because if the people aren't out in the trucks, and if the people aren't fixing the water lines, and if the people aren't in your office processing payment, PAWS D doesn't exist. It's like every other group. This is about people, not about homes. Don't be confused. This is about human beings and being able to grow our communities and our neighbors so we can continue to service one another. And if you're keeping your mission statement in mind, I would say investment is part of your return and supports your mission. I know this is a hard decision, but you're going to come to all of us at one point or another, because this is what a community does when we're in need. We turn to one another to support one another. We just want you to help us so we can help others. We get nothing in return as far as a sales pitch goes. No one's getting commission. Everybody's giving. And it's from the lowest to the highest. And that's one of the reasons I believe that we were set up to receive the grants and this project that we have, is because everybody is giving. Thank you for your time. I appreciate
I
your position.
appreciate your comments. One of them is incorrect.
Please.
I would still be here if I would not have gone alone.
Fair.
And that's exactly why I specifically asked, not just you, but Habitat and CDC.
Yeah.
Who else is, how hard have you been working is basically what I've said. And we got answers back of, you know, we've got this grant, that grant, county did this, blah, blah, blah. And Bill brought it up, I think, last meeting. Our core is water and sewer. But we are also allowed by law to support affordable housing and childcare. We're allowed to, we don't have to, but we can. PAWS, I believe I'm correct in saying, was the first one to step up and eat the $2 million that you just mentioned.
Amen.
Before anybody else stepped in.
Yep.
Of course, if I was you, I would have done the same thing. You gotta get all those lots down in Chris Mountain and Trails back onto the tax rolls. I applaud you for doing that. That was a smart move. The way I look at it sometimes is, and even some of our board members have said, it's not real money, and you just said it. If you don't give the fee, the project's not gonna happen, and therefore it's, you know, the balance stays balanced. Well, I look at it a little bit differently in the fact that, we've got, as I just mentioned, unacceptable water loss, unacceptable infiltration. Any money that doesn't go into that, that gets forgiven, doesn't allow some of those projects to get done in as timely as a fashion as they should, my opinion only. So, yes, we are a community, we gotta stick together. I believe I heard that the tourism board was asked if they could help. I don't know what their answer was. I don't know if the town could do any more. You know, La Plata used to have a roundup program, I think. You know, if your bill is $19.10, you could bump it up to 20 and they'd give that to somebody. I guess I just feel that there was a lot of players, but maybe not enough. And, I feel that pause has been,
Gene, can we see if there's any more comments?
James,
Somebody else? Well, thank you, and I appreciate everybody's service on the board. Thank you very much. I do want to start by thanking you for approving the housing surcharges that you approved. I think those are really helpful. I encourage you to continue these. I know that it's, for some, it may be a little bit too much out of their pocket, but I think in totality, as a community member, I am happy to pay that if it's going to a good cause. I mean, back to what Warren and you mentioned, we are one community, and we do have to work together on issues like housing, like childcare. You know, we recently adopted the housing needs assessment, which we are required to update at least every 6 years by the state. That proves today we're short 350 housing units today, and we need, what is it? Help me, Jeff. 1,316. Over the next 10 years, we need 1,300 units to keep up with the pace. And this all takes a lot of effort. And I would question, if you know those other entities that should be helping, please let us know, because we're tapped into everybody, including PAWS, with their waivers to help these projects along. I mean, right now, even LIHTC projects, which is a low income housing tax credit project, they get a 9% tax credit, which has been extremely valuable until COVID. Now you can't do LIHTC without the LIHTC award, without additional low financing, without water sewer tap fees, and other grants. You need to grant stack and financial stack much more than you used to just 5-6 years ago. It's very difficult. And since COVID, the income disparity in our community and the country has grown at an exponential rate. I don't know how we're ever going to survive this, to be honest. This is crazy. You know, most everybody in this room probably bought their house 10-20 years ago, and hey, we got ours, we're good. Today, it's a totally different environment. You know, we are pushing people into apartments, right? And I hate to hear the comment that that's the only option, right? With that said, you know, we are currently going through a housing action plan. The county's got a grant for, and this is state required. We have to do a follow-up to the housing needs assessment. We're working on a housing action plan. Will take us through probably July before that's coming in for final adoption to the county and the town. We are currently, we've got a final housing deed restriction guideline document that we want to bring forward to PAWS, the county and the town for consideration of adoption. And that document looks at how do we ensure that we're getting community benefit from all the incentives that we're all providing, right? PAWS is providing incentive with waivers. The town is providing incentives with fee waivers for development fees, building fees, sewer fees. The county's doing everything that Warren mentioned. But if we're not working together on one collective incentive package, then we're all advocating for very small, we don't have as much negotiating power for a longer deed restriction if we're all negotiating our little portion towards that project. But if we collectively have a package, then we're going to be getting 30-year deed restrictions for a lot of these projects that we're working collectively on. Otherwise, we're going to be getting minimal deed restrictions. So our community benefit is diminished if we're not working together all the time. I do want to mention that we attended the Housing Colorado Award ceremony. Warren, Veronica, myself, David Harris, Emily was there. Emily's project, Chris Mountain Project, was nominated for an award. There was a lot of people nominated. We didn't get an award. However, I would say that all the awarded projects, when they came up to the microphone to accept their award, the one common message they all said, and this is in Denver, right? This is a statewide award ceremony. Every single awarded project, one of the first things they said is, this is so hard to actually pull off because you have to grant stack, you have financial stack, you have to work with 12 different community entities to actually pull these projects off.
You're coming up on your time limit. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I just want to point that out. This is a hard thing to pull off. Market rate, that pencils out, but anything below market rate does not, and it does take incentives to pull it all off. Otherwise, it's not being built. Just look around you. Without incentives, it's not being built. We're short 350 units today. So I just want to put that in perspective that I do really thank you for collecting those fees. I really think that's a really great contribution to the community housing needs. And I really want to encourage all of us to work together to get these projects rolling. And it is going to take all of us in what we do in our little segment to make this happen. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, I wanted to add to it, what I've expressed thus far have been my personal feelings, but I forgot to interject. Probably the 50 to 60 people I've talked to, friends, neighbors, people I bump into at the grocery store, whatever. I would have to say are overwhelmingly not in favor. Some are, but the people in the community I talk to, for whatever reason, and you know, maybe they don't know all the ins and outs of everything you guys are mentioning, but just on the face, the people I talk to aren't as supportive.
Well, and I should have all finished. I'm sorry. I want to also encourage you to approve the waiver for Emily, because I do think her project is important.
Sure.
And I think a survey follow-up to make sure we're getting our whole communities to comment on that. I only mention that because our survey with the housing needs assessment, we had, remind me, 350, 500, 500 respondents, all of them. We need housing. We're struggling, all of them. So, I mean, that's an example of the community input. It was only 500, but 500 in our small community is a lot of respondents. And I think if you really want a true representation of the entire community's comment on that, I think it may be a different outcome. I mean, folks that own their home and they're set for life, they got their retirement and whatnot. Yeah, they don't want to pay somebody else's fee, right?
And that's not the only people I talk to, but, how many homes are needed in what time frame? I'll get to Carl in a minute, but,
We have a current shortfall of 362 units.
in what
and
time frame?
That's our current shortfall
Right now.
right now.
Okay, I thought I had read something in the next 10 years we needed.
1,300 feet. 1,300.
300 in the next 10 years.
1300.
Isn't it like obvious that's unobtainable?
Well, what are we supposed to give up? I mean, I think we need to.
No, we got to plan for the future.
We have to keep endeavoring to get some
I,
traction.
to my personal opinion, that our budget couldn't withstand that load. I don't think, just my personal opinion. But, Carl, you got your hand raised.
Yes, thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I would just like to, I have 2 points. One, in the board packet, there was mention of a financial analysis or report or something like that that was going to be coming. Was that actually done? And is it going to be public? And number 2 is, I think it would be very helpful to give some perspective for the affordable housing surcharges if the water and sewer bills were broken into operating and capital expenses, so that when you look at your bill, you see how much is going to capital and how much is going to expenses. So there would be, at least 2 additional lines on the bill. Thank you.
All right, to answer your question, and the whole board.
Have to do with, he was talking about something else.
Yeah, I think you mentioned some kind of a financial report. If you're talking about a rate study, that has been mentioned at a number of board meetings. Rate studies take a long time to do. It was never the intention, nor was it ever stated it would be in this board meeting. And if you want to know how much is going to operations, et cetera, which has not a whole lot to do with what we're talking about tonight, you could request a copy of the budget or ask it specifically. I think it's a waste of of energy and time to put it on a small water bill. That's just my
There's a rate study on the website, it's available on the website.
The rate study.
And is the budget.
yes,
It is
the,
limited.
the last rate study, yes, is on the website. Okay,
Any other comments from?
One additional thing I think is important to note is that this housing project the CDC has done has actually brought on the opportunity for a lot more customers for PAWS. So I would not want you to forget that there's additional 168 lots that now have infrastructure that can be built on. And those are your future customers. So there's some value on that. I mean, that's a contribution CDC has made to get that infrastructure in and get that area developed.
that's been
That
mentioned
one
in the
income is significant to you. I would-
That's been mentioned in the past too, and it's totally true, but if you look at the big picture, there are some subdivisions that have existed now for 60 years. They're still not built out. I would say, hopefully, Chris Mountain Trails, that area is gonna be built out more quickly, but all the 60 or so lots that you're talking about, the income that it's gonna generate is gonna be arguably decades from now. Some of them next year, absolutely, don't get me wrong. Bill,
I'd like to make a motion that, that we offer a 75% waiver of the fees for the CDC project.
got a motion, do I hear a second? Glenn, can you hear?
I can hear. I wouldn't reject that out of hand, but I don't really want to pursue that right now.
Okay, so that motion dies due to a lack of a second. Any?
I would move to approve the request for the waiver of the 2025 capital investments fees for Pagosa Springs CDC.
I'll second that.
Can you repeat your motion, Glenn?
I move to approve the request for the waiver of the 2025 capital investment fees for the Pagosa Springs CDC.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion, maybe I'm confused. I thought the request was for next year's houses. Am I wrong?
No, they're for this year's, 5 of this year's houses.
Okay,
For this year.
my misunderstanding. Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Glenn, would you modify your motion to include the stipulation that a rate study will be conducted and analyzed before any further waivers are given out? Would you include that in your motion?
You know, do they really adhere? I'd certainly be, I've been pushing for what I think would be a more comprehensive rate study anyway, so I agree to that, but are we kind of, do those two things really adhere here?
Well, Alex's idea is that there's some other ways that we can work this financing so that it's more fair to the community.
Well, yeah, I know, yeah.
I
Maybe
think the ideas that will be thrown out during the rate study to clarify where money is coming from and where it's going. If we guarantee that we're gonna do that research before we give out waivers next year, as part of your motion, that might.
Right.
that might-
So I have to say, I find the whole idea of tying the rate study, which is a very big comprehensive animal that drives the whole organization, again, to affordable housing, is just something we don't really have to do. We should do it, but we tend conceptually to connect everything to affordable housing, which is really a very small part of our budgetary crisis that we're going to be facing. But again, I support a new rate study, and I would probably support not handing out any waivers until that's completed. But I don't know if I want to connect it, whether it really connects with this request. I mean, I have other things yeah. I mean, I'm just going to leave it where it is and just note that I did some little public math is dangerous, but I'm really kind of impressed that given we had a little conceptual difference, CDC did bring in all these houses at an average of 83%, which is pretty impressive. And I would drop going forward, that would be a nice target to continue, because if that were to migrate up to 88 and 89.9%, I might be less supportive in the future. But for this year, I'm pretty impressed, and I'm just moving to approve it. And then we can discuss the rate study.
I still second the motion.
Any further discussion?
So I wanted to just let discussion happen before I actually talk, with no disrespect to anybody else. Guys, I think one of the issues we deal with most here at PAWS, and I'll leave it at that, but I think there's a lot more to that than just PAWS, is getting your own house in order. And I don't feel that my obligation as a board member is to spend the people who voted me on this constituents, even to as great of a cost as this. I don't know if you guys saw, I mean, obviously the public did not see the presentations made. Mountain and disaster mitigation was on both their presentations. I support this wholeheartedly as an individual, as a member of the community. I give my own time, I give my own money, I give my own employment, my own efforts to this. However, when I see some months go by where we're losing 40+% of our usable water to go into the ground, and then I see Hatcher where it's at, and we still haven't connected Stevens, which could fill Hatcher twice, maybe 2.5 times. I think those are much more pertinent pending issues when it comes to PAWS. And that's my take. And I know that that's not popular in this room, but that's my take. And I think that right now I stand on a board that represents PAWS-D, not disaster mitigation, not my personal viewpoints and stuff like that. And again, in running, one of the biggest questions I got was, why do I have a low income housing perspective on my bill? And that was one of the questions that I had to answer. And then the other one was Dry Gulch, and then the other one was Stevens. So again, that what was communicated to me in running and what people said they voted for me on this board for was to stand on getting PAWS's house in order. So that's why, I stand as a community, completely stand with them. And I will continue to. But as a PAWS board member, I think we run a dangerous ground if we don't stand our ground and actually focus inward a little bit. So that's my opinion.
And again, I apologize for my misunderstanding of which fees were being discussed. I think you said it well, Glenn. A budgetary disaster is looming. And you couldn't have said it any better. We support personally, but we have a fiduciary responsibility to our customers. You heard a couple of the emails last month, and some of them, like Glenn said, were just plain wrong. We'll leave it at that. But there was a couple that said, it's not just the affordable housing surcharge on my bill. It's La Plata has gone up. Black Hills Energy has gone up. Everything has gone up. So it's, the camel's back is almost broken, and now we add another $5 and change onto it. And, I feel for those people as well. Leave it at that.
Well, I just wanted to add that I did not propose the affordable housing surcharge. It was proposed by a really great board member, very fiscally conservative. I don't on it. I think a lot of these costs are actually monstered up. They're paper costs. I see no problem with getting rid of the affordable housing surcharge and approving waivers for projects which will not otherwise happen without the waiver. That's always my standard. If it's going to happen with or without the waiver, then there's no fiduciary reason to grant the waiver. But if it's not going to happen, you're not going to pay for any infrastructure expansion or repairs with fees from projects which will not happen. I think conceptually people are just monstering up these costs and they don't actually connect what we need to do. We need to build out and repair our infrastructure with market housing, not with federal and state welfare housing and private benevolent housing. Nobody ever builds out districts based on that. And just, I'll shut up after this. And what will happen is a community can't live without affordable housing and workforce housing. So all of these, there'll be a big pivot, there'll be a lot of pain at the county, and all of these houses and apartments will then gravitate to District 2. And then we will treat all that waste for $3 a month instead of receiving a $46.50, $55 a month fee for treating the same amount of waste.
Well,
But I'm a broken record too, Gene.
So, so we did get some information from Emily. And it was pretty clear that they can't afford to build these houses without waiver. So we're talking about housing that's not going to happen without the waiver. So you're not gonna get the money that you want to fix your pipes either way. But we have the opportunity to give, to make it possible for some people in the community to have a place to live. So they're not living in their car or their tent or wherever they're living on a friend's couch. We have the opportunity at no cost to us, at no cost to our customers. We have the ability to help our community. And it doesn't cost us anything because it's not gonna happen unless we give the waivers. And I think that's so important to have in your head that we're not giving anything away. We're making something positive happen in our community. And it doesn't cost us anything. So that's why I'm seconding this motion and bouncing off of Glenn's very good argument. We're not gonna get any money for sewer if all the building happens in the town's sewer district. We're not gonna get anything out of it. So we're not gonna benefit our district by sending all the housing down into the town's sewer district. So I would encourage everyone to vote yes and move on.
yes, sir.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank you for doing the fire hydrant thing. Okay. That was good. The second thing is, how much of the monthly bill pays for the sanitation? What percentage?
I'm gonna guess, no, it's more than that. Sewer is more expensive than water now.
The sewer base rate is $46.90.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what I told people, that, I watched the thing on the computer last time. And there was something that Glenn said that nobody showed up to protest anything. And when I asked people why they didn't show up, they consistently said, because they don't care. You guys don't care. No matter what. Okay. Now, he was like, you guys don't care about the customers. Okay. Now, the reason I wanted to know of how much the sewage was, sanitation, is because there's a lot of people, everybody south of Jerry Robinson Road, everybody going up 4 Mile Road, everybody on Hirsch Road going out, people at Aspen Springs, they all have septic tanks and ponds. And when they have them flushed, they also pay the additional fee to have that cost done. Okay, to have it, to take it to where they take it to. Okay,
Here.
yeah, okay. And that pissed a lot of people off. You know, and they gave them the thing where you guys just don't care. Because what you should be doing, or what you could be doing, is not only cutting the people back, you know, of their water bills, but you should actually be refurbishing the money to the people who have been paying for years into the system that they're not getting anything for.
Okay, well, we're at the 3 minutes there. I'd like to respond to that. So only people that are connected to the sewer pay sewer. We have many customers that are only connected to water. And people that are living out in Aspen Springs are not paying a water or a sewer bill. So they're not contributing and therefore they're not getting any service.
We
So
are contributing with water because we buy water from you guys.
correct, water did
But
use
we are
it, but
contributing to that.
the sewer, on the
You don't
sewer
pay
end,
real estate taxes, though, because you're not within the district.
right, you're just getting the water at the rate and that's what it is. The idea that we don't care, I have 2 kids, I'm 31 years old. I don't get paid a cent for this. We stay here until 9 o'clock at night, sometimes we don't even get free dinner. So the idea that somebody would come in here and volunteer their time, that's just people that are not well informed, I'm sorry. But to say that we would come in here and not care about the community, it seems like a strange excuse to not come speak to us. And we are a nonprofit organization. So we operate as a business, but we're not out there to get rich. So we can't lower rates. The rates are what the rates are because of government mandates, unfunded mandates, because of the cost of treatment, because of the cost of repair, because of the cost of employees. We don't operate on a big budget where, you know, we're all getting a paycheck at the end of the year and getting a cut. So I'm not sure where that idea came from, but we can't be giving rebates out to people and lowering people's bills because we have bills that we have to pay.
I want to remind everybody that
And our budget is public.
that we are discussing fee waivers for the Community Development Corporation. We're kind of getting off that subject and we need to get focused back on it again. But thank you for your thoughts. More of your questions can be answered, you know, after a meeting or a phone call or whatever, because the better educated we all are, open discussion is productive and it's good. So thank you.
So can we vote on this then?
I'm assuming there's no more discussion, so all in favor of complete fee waivers for Community Development Corporation, which is, I believe, what Glenn's motion was, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Motion fails. Well, it's all been said, you know, we all have to work together,
So
I
I'd like
guess.
to make a motion.
I guess we all have to work harder. Bill, go ahead.
I'd like to move that we offer 50% waiver of the CIF fees to for the CDC's project. And that part of the vote is that we will do a rate study to work out the best possible way to support affordable housing in our community without punishing the POS customers. That's my motion.
Do I hear a second?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll second that.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Did you want to vote by someone? You said.
Yeah, failed, 3-2. Okay, let's move on to number 9. Consideration of engagement letter for 2020. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, number 8. Consideration of request for reimbursement of 2024 capital investment fees for OH Pagosa LLC.
I mean, is Steve on? Steve, would he like to speak?
Peter, can you hear us? We'll wait for the room to clear first. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Peter, can you hear us?
Don't see him on there anymore.
Oh,
Oh, he is.
yeah,
Okay.
Peter. Peter, you are next on the agenda. Why don't we skip him for the moment?
Well, he doesn't need to speak.
No, he doesn't have to speak.
I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Now we can.
Sorry.
for
Technical
joining us,
difficulties. I'm an old man. I
got
don't
it.
really have much to add. I will just say, like, you think it's tough building these projects with land donation, grant stacking, and tax credits. Try building them without it. And then I would just say that the only thing we're missing, everybody's trying to help out in the community, and I applaud, the CDC, Habitat for Humanity, et cetera. What we are missing, though, is a small-time guy building, some units. And we probably won't see that just because of what I just said. All those incentives aren't offered to them. So that's really all I have to say. This is my 3rd time in front of you. I've done it. I proved it can be done by a small guy. And I can see where the decision is very hard. My personal opinion is more like Gene's. But that being said, you've collected the money. And if you're going to give it out, here I am. I've done exactly what you told or wanted to be done. And yeah, that's it. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments again, Peter, and you're right. You're a past board member and you know the tough decisions that have to be made sometimes. But any other discussion from the audience? Hearing none. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, in this item, I believe, is the financial information I was asking about. Staff will prepare CIF paid to date. Has that been prepared?
Regarding Pagosa OH or
Yes.
regarding Peter's project?
Yes, that's what it says. It's on your board agenda summary sheet.
That was all.
Page 41.
That was all gone over in great detail at the last meeting. All of that information was given by Peter.
Okay, why does your agenda from your staff say staff will prepare CIF paid to date for the meeting?
Peter CIF paid on that account in 2023 was roughly $10,000. We're still trying to finalize that number.
Okay,
That's
so the
CIF.
number's not
It's
available
16.
yet.
That's included his connection, like the tab and all of that, you know, the connection
A little
costs.
louder.
When Peter came up with this number, it included connection fees, modeling fees and everything, so we had to subtract that out. But his capital investment fee was for water only for the 2.5 units, whatever it worked out to be, which is in the range of $10,000. But if you guys approve this, we'll get the exact number, but it's in the range of $10,000.
We weren't able to confirm that exact CIF amount prior to the meeting, but it's approximately $10,000. The CIF paid.
But what Peter,
So when, Carl, to answer your question, when we were in the meeting, the numbers Peter had presented didn't calc up in some of our minds as far as a total, so we asked staff to provide us a roundabout number of what Peter would be asking if we were gonna grant this, what number it would actually be, and that's where they're saying it would be somewhere in the lieu of $10,000. So that's why it said it in the minutes, like I said.
any further discussion? Do I hear a motion?
I move to reimburse Peter for the CIF for his project, which he did without all the help from the community that other people are getting.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? I think it's very similar to what happened to the 50 apartments at Timbers. Similar to what Peter is proposing, and that is apparently the project penciled out because it went through and it got done and it's been built. So call that an agreement if you want, and now here we are a year or two later going, well, I guess I have a little bit of an issue with that.
Well, and I guess I'll make a comment too, and I did intentionally not say this when the room was full, so I hope that's seen, but I guess it's really hard for me because I talked to Blake, Len, after you said that Blake had initiated that. And when he had initiated that, he had done it on the basis of transparency. And I guess the concern I have right now with the way that the two different sides that the board seems to be taking is it was instituted as a transparent thing, that fee was, which means you were gonna keep track of the monies that you were giving away, whether paper money, whether real money, whether free, whether not. That's what it was for. We're almost 7 years in the rears right now if we were keeping track and we were being transparent because we gave so much to that huge development.
Well,
But
no.
let me finish. So we're almost 7 years in the rears. That was your numbers last time, if we kept track, because we gave them almost $700,000. So it takes 7 years to recover that. Then other people are coming in and asking for money. And the guy who instituted the very thing that you're talking about did it so that we could have transparency. But now we're talking about how those numbers aren't real numbers. So now all of a sudden we're in this discussion. And again, I didn't bring this up when the whole town was here and the county and everything like that. But I guess I'm just wondering from the board, what do we want to be? Because if those numbers were brought in for transparency, but we can't sit on the $700,000 as a real number, and we can't say we're 7 years in the rear, and then all of a sudden during this discussion, we have discussion about how it's free money and it's nothing. So I'm really confused at how that's transparent in any way, shape, form, or fashion, which was the guy who actually set the thing up's reason for doing it.
Right. Well, I was there and I thought, and every board action actually, in general, winds up being kind of a compromise. I was fine simply giving, and this was Rose Mountain, I was fine with just giving Rose Mountain the waivers because I didn't see it as an actual cost to us. Though a majority of the board, and really I think Aaron was very insistent on it, and Blake was as well, that conjecturing about whether it's a loss or not was a little too, imprecise for them. And the decision was, what we were discussing then was whether we would throw the entire cost, quote unquote, of these waivers onto the capital investment fee. And then Blake made the point that's not fair. We're splitting everything between ratepayers and CIF. So let's take 50% and account for these waivers with an increase in our monthly with a surcharge, which is right on every single bill you get, so you know what you're paying. And then also put 50% into the CIF, and that was also going to be broken out as a figure, so you would know exactly what you were paying. You couldn't be more transparent. Okay, I'm sorry that this whole transparency thing is really irking me, because you know what? There are hundreds and hundreds of districts around this state who provide these waivers, and we're the ones that put it on your bill exactly what you're paying. So you can oppose it or you can support it. Okay, that's how it came about. I was fine if that was the majority opinion of the board and they felt very strongly that that was the strictest accounting we should do. I was okay with that. I didn't feel it was necessary then. I don't feel that it's necessary now. I will also point out, because affordable housing, and it really touches people in a different way, and it touches status anxieties. We have handed out at pause waivers, quote unquote, for governments for decades. But somehow we never had to backfill the money for the waivers that we handed out to any number of government agencies and other sort of, public spirited enterprises. I don't mind making that change and saying we should account for it, but let's not pretend that waivers weren't handed out for non-affordable housing for decades without any need for strict accounting. Okay, and as far as transparency, I think I've been extremely transparent. I don't play games on this. I don't see the need. I think we can hand out waivers very confidently to projects if in your individual discretion as a board member, you do not see that project occurring without the waivers. Okay, there's no cost there. There's no cost to fees being paid by projects that will not happen. That's my opinion. And I also don't think that if that's your standard, we need to have a surcharge. But I will say this, if you guys believe that that's an actual cost, a real world cost, if you do away with the surcharge, you're going to have to add $500,000 to the next 10 years in the rate projection on the water side. By the way, on the wastewater side, on the water side, we're already piling up a surplus because of our density bonus. We're going to have a $400,000 surplus.
So I hear what you just said, and I'm not questioning your transparency. I'm just trying to understand, because again, I'm talking to Blake. But you just said that you're willing to hand out waivers to projects that would not happen if we did not give the waiver. And yet you just seconded Peter, who already did his, and you want to give him a waiver.
I didn't vote yet. I just want to have the discussion.
I was just asking.
Yeah. I think Peter has, there are some extraordinary aspects to Peter's project, including the fact that he didn't pursue the waiver because he was on the board, so he didn't feel that he could at the time that he paid. But ultimately, with my standard, and listen, we all kind of develop a different conception of the project, of the problem as the problem changes. And so I'm not going to vote for Peter's, regrettably. But I do think a full airing of his, which we really did a couple of weeks ago, and I did explain then, how commendable in general that project is.
So,
but I don't.
Bill,
if I did approve a project like Peter's, that's where I would say yes. We have to backfill the budget for that, because that's a project that was going to happen anyway. I've tried not to be intellectually dishonest. There are some projects, even very 80% below projects, that may come to us with funding, available funding, to pay the fees. There's no reason to provide waivers in that instance. So,
And really, I know Bill's next in I just want to make it known, I literally am calling nobody a liar here or anything. I'm just trying to understand my progression of being a part of the board. Bill,
So, there was a discussion earlier from the audience, about a housing study that's being done, or has been done, housing needs assessment, and a plan for how the community is gonna come together and solve this crisis. We're in a crisis. This is not a COVID crisis, this is much worse than a COVID crisis.
Or do the first time.
We are in a crisis. And the community has, the town and the county has come together, CDC, to figure out a plan for how do we address this problem. And part of how we address the problem is for the county, the town, CDC, PAWS, everybody else to be as generous as we can be to get these projects going. And if we say, no, no, no to you, no, no, no to you, we're saying no to everybody who might come forward because they're gonna say, oh, PAWS is not gonna give us a waiver. You're not only stifling Emily's project, which is not gonna happen now, but you're stifling the other people who might come forward with a project that we need desperately in our community right now. You're stifling all of those people who might come forward, like Peter, like Habitat, those kind of people that come forward with these projects that are addressing our crisis. And you're saying, we're not part of the game. We're gonna fix our leaky pipes with the money that we're not getting from you. And I think that's insane. I think it's insane to tell the community, we do not support affordable housing. And that's insanity to me. In a community as bad off as we are, for us to make that statement that we don't support affordable housing is insanity.
Well, I've spoken to you about this for hours and hours, Bill, so I think you understand my position. I know you don't agree with it, but I think you understand it. But what we're talking about here, when it comes to the CDC, which we've already voted on, and I don't want to just keep bringing it back up. In order to meet our current housing needs, not for the 10-year projection, for right now, it would take 67 years at the pace that they're going to get that done at 5 per year.
But you're not just saying no to them, you're saying no to the whole community.
No,
You're
I'm
saying,
not.
nobody come forward because we're gonna turn you down.
Those words never came out of my mouth.
You're-
And I'll tell you right now, if I'm going to build an affordable housing and I think that PAWS is gonna say no and there's $26,000 on the line, I'm still gonna come to the meeting. We're talking, so the idea that people are gonna not feel welcome to come to our meetings anymore, I don't agree with that. And we're talking about what we're doing here, if we approve every single waiver, is not going to significantly move the needle. So I don't, and regardless, I explained to you why I voted no on CDC. But we're talking about a very small percentage of what it takes to actually get this done.
well, 1 second, but I do think conceptually, to take a look at a very daunting problem and then evaluate every person who's trying to tackle even a small part of the solution and reject it because it doesn't solve the problem in its entirety, well, then why do we even replace a leaky pipe? Because our losses are at 38%, and if we spend $500,000 on this quarter mile of pipe, it will only reduce it to 37.77%. So I think conceptually that's a roadblock. And I did want to add Ray Peters. Remember, Peter was assessed the fee, I believe, before the fees were increased for Snowball. He also benefited from, I'm trying to be kind of very fair, even though I find the project very commendable. He also got basically a density bonus, and he's not in the sewer district. So I do think you can make the case, well, obviously the project happened without $10,000. It was not going to be. But if a project like Peters comes forward in District 1, it will never happen if each one of those 8 units is assessed 26,000. So let's not pretend that projects like Peters are going to happen going forward, especially in District 1. I think they'll happen in District 2 because the town is going to be flush and creative, and they're actually sympathetic to the to the really sympathetic, and it's more in their wheelhouse too, to be fair. So I'll shut up. I'm not voting for it, but if Peters' project came before us in District 1, I would be voting for it, especially now that the fees are not $5,000 for 8 units, but would be $200,000 in District 1.
Bill,
I don't know if Alex realizes that we supported 63 units of housing last year.
I am aware of that.
That is a chunk that may not have happened at all without Paz's participation. With the federal government, with the town,
We've done a
with
lot.
the county, with all of the people that contributed to those 63 units. The community came together and produced 63 units of housing, and we helped in a small way because none of that money was gonna come to us anyway.
when our budget was done, I need to understand.
And so when you all vote no on an affordable housing project that's worthy, that it has support from all aspects of the community, you're saying to all the developers out there, we're not cooperating. We're not cooperating with affordable housing.
I disagree.
And you're sending that message, whether you want to or not. You don't intend to.
And you're
You don't
making an
intend to.
assumption.
You don't intend to.
And you're making an assumption, yes.
Yeah, maybe you do intend to.
So I'm confused and I'm asking because we sat down at Higher Grounds and I believe it was you, Bill, who told me that if something's 80% or under, that's when you would support it. We had a discussion specifically about, hey, this is kind of the way things go. It seems like you've changed your mind and you pointed out several things to me where Paz said, hey, if it's 80% or under, that's when we offer waivers. But as we saw, it's not 80% or under. We listened to CDC, who talked not only about hitting 100%, but trying desperately to stay under 120. And then all of a sudden now we're talking about waivers. So I'm really confused as the new guy, why when we have personal discussions, it seems like we're going one way, but then when there's a room full of people, how we take a completely different perspective and then try and throw each other under the bus, seemingly in front of those other people. Because I'm not saying like you're bad or I'm bad or anybody like that. I'm saying that if we can't have candid discussions, that we stand by at least what's communicated without openly communicating, hopefully to the person in private again, that hey, I'm going a different direction before we get in front of 30 people, then we're gonna have a lot of disappointing things, and it's gonna seem like we're actually a divided board, which, as we can see by current events all over the world and our nation, we need to come together. And that starts in me, in my own home, in my own place, in my own this. I don't go out and help other people when I need help myself. And that's my biggest thing about pauses, is the whole entire thing. And even when I talked to Blake Breckner and different things like that, they all said the connection between Stevens and Hatcher would help us more. Why did we raise it to $29,000 tap fee if giving them away doesn't cost anything? Why isn't everybody still at $10,000 then? Every single thing given has a cost. Now, do I agree that it's not the actual cost of $29,000? Sure. But why are we telling somebody over here that you get it for free and then telling somebody over here that you're gonna pay the full 29 simply based on the fact that we think you can afford it and we don't think you can? I think that puts us in a very vulnerable spot when it comes to what people are asking about, which is transparency. And that's why I voted the way I voted tonight. So that's why I'm saying, like, I would love to have discussion about this. If we want to do it tonight, that's fine. But I feel like there's a completely different thing being said privately than there is publicly, and I take problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know what, I think that I've been,
You'll get more time.
He was talking to me.
And now he
Yeah.
talks to the whole board. You'll get more
He's
time.
talking about what I
You will
told
get more time, Bill. Hang on, please. I have to understand a little better. When Rose Mountain came in, I think it was kind of an assumption that, we won't see a project like this for a while. And now we've got a housing needs survey that says a lot of them per year. And if all of them came in and got fee waivers, I would like to know what that would do to our budget, and I think it would break it, just personally. And then I've said this before, it penciled out. Every one of these penciled out. Why are they not penciling out now? We took their word for it, and I would think we'd have the right to expect for them to follow through on. Go ahead.
Okay, so when we talked, I said, moving forward, I would like to put a limit at 80%. As a policy for our board, that we're not gonna support 80 to 100%. I'm still in that position, but we haven't come to a policy yet. We just had a presentation from a group that said, we're not gonna build these without your help. And I wanna help them. But.
well, I mean, let's be fair.
If we wanna come to a policy where they have to come at 80%, and we as a board say, we're gonna support you as long as you're going to 80%. I'm totally behind that. Right tonight, I'm behind building these units that are not gonna get built without our help.
I don't think.
So I don't think that's a discrepancy.
Okay, we
Can
voted on
can
that.
I-
We're just
can I just,
spinning our wheels.
Okay, I just wanted to make listen, I have complete respect for every point of view that's been expressed here. And whether yays or nays, I do just want to make a couple of points, okay? One is the difference between affordable housing and market housing, and why we give the waiver to affordable housing and not market housing, is that the person who moves into the affordable house has to sign a 30 to 35-year deed restriction. The actual price escalation permitted for resale is typically around 2%, and the person who buys a market house can benefit completely from any rise in equity in their house. They're fundamentally different markets, that's all. And I don't want to be intellectually dishonest that those projects would never pay. There are cases where we should ask them to pay. Secondly, our actual policy. Okay, again, I don't know accused, but it's intimated that we have a policy and we're violating the policy when we're being slippery and loose. Our policy is 80% below is a waiver. Between 80 and 100%, the board can choose to provide a waiver if they determine that the project is of overwhelming benefit to the community and also pencils out for pause. That's all. So we're not violating the policy. I personally think we should get rid of the policy and just move to board discretion, because there's no sense having a policy if it doesn't provide predictability. And the policy should be anyone can approach the board for a waiver, and then every board member can have their own standard. I've been clear about my standard. So the worst thing is to provide people some kind of false kind of predictability. So let's just get rid of the policy and move to something that's more the board in its discretion may grant waivers, period. That's it. Because otherwise.
I'm not sure if Bill meant, what I heard you say was, we got a policy, we support everything under 80%.
We don't have that policy.
I know,
Yes, we do.
you are advocating it.
Yeah, in our conversation, I advocated that.
And what I took from that, what you said was every project below 80% we will approve. I hope you didn't mean that.
That's the policy.
Well, I love what Lon is saying.
With the deed restriction, with all the other.
Every project has to come in on its own merit. And, something that James said earlier, it kind of struck me, and that is, if there's more people out there who can help, we'd like to know who they are. I think you came up with one today, and it should be the people asking for the waivers, thinking of that stuff. Tourism Committee, La Plata, whoever else is out there that can dig a little deeper. I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I've heard not a spreadsheet, but a list of kind of like what Emily provided us. This much money came from grants, this from so-and-so. Is there a list of what the town has done? And I know you're forgiven, permit costs and stuff like that, but is there a list that the town has?
We could certainly generate one, and I think that's, part of that, the housing deed restriction guidelines I mentioned earlier would certainly dictate that, so we know what each party's giving for each project. So that helps us determine how to negotiate that deed restriction and in what AMI category as well. So I can certainly generate a list, but we waive fees for public entities, whether it's the library or other public entities. We waive them for pretty much every single affordable project of up to 140%.
To the tune of how many millions of dollars?
I'd have to look, plus we're applying for grants for projects as well. And there's a lot that we're doing, not just fee waivers, and that's both the town council, but also the town sanitation district, who is exempting fees, but then the town council has to backfill those fees to the sanitation district. Between those two and the grants we applied for and the other programs we pull together, we could put some effort into producing that list. And
At some point in the future, that would be helpful to me. And
yeah, understand.
But I think numbers too get convoluted, and I don't mean that in a mean way, but I like what James is saying. They have a budget, and then they do grants, and then they do stuff like that, so they know what they have to give. I don't think they're just giving stuff away. The county, though I realize, and I respect Veronica and Warren and John, I respect them, but at the same time, there's a difference. There's a difference when you're like, hey, I just got this back in a tax sale, and now I'm giving it to you. Now, yes, that has legitimate value. So what Warren's numbers were right. But to those tunes, gosh, we've given $2 million for that. We've given $700,000 for that. And again, I think that's where, as a board, I think our challenge isn't to battle against one another. It's to say, what do we really actually feel comfortable giving? Because what I love about the county and the town is they both can pencil it out, but at the same time, it's like, that's the actual value, but they also have it in their budget. Like you said, they applied for grant. The grant you guys did, I know you didn't get a lot of credit for, when you did for the businesses downtown that were struggling. I know it came in a smaller number than anybody would have helped in the county.
Most of the county.
Yeah, but the way you guys worked together on that was huge, and I don't think you got the appreciation it deserved. But the fact of the matter is I feel like they actually have something where like, hey, we got a grant, this is how much we've got to give. The one thing I don't see with PAWS is what we have to give. Because to the tune of even 300 units at 29,000, you're talking $8,700,000. That's 29,000 per unit. I don't even know that includes the sewer tap fees and stuff like that. So I think at some point, if we want to have a way to move forward, the way to move forward is that we create some type of number that's an actual number that obviously doesn't paper out and stuff. Then we say, hey, this is what we're willing to actually donate towards things. We want to say that as a group, rock on. But everything I hear everybody else saying has a budget attached to it, has a number attached to it, it seems like it's very decisive. For us, it feels kind of whimsical, and I'm hard with that because I have to answer to the people, and I know you do too. And Glenn, I appreciated what you said legitimately. But I'm just saying, I think
but I respect your point of view. But what I'm hearing from you is a lot of insinuations. I'll be very clear about looseness and lack of transparency. And quite frankly, I think is utter, complete nonsense. We've been as transparent about every dollar we've given away and every dollar we've collected. I'm sorry.
I was on the POPA board for 7 years, and I have never once said you guys haven't been transparent about anything. The reason I got on the board was so that I could prove people wrong. that you guys weren't being transparent, because I know you are. You're open books, your budget's on the thing. People don't take the time to look, is why they think you're not being transparent. However, I do think when we're making decisions, especially when it comes to 63 units here, 10 units there, and we've got more projects coming down the way, you guys have all said, you guys who were on the board before have all said that when we did Rose Mountain, we thought another one wouldn't come for another 10 years. Well, that was your reasoning of why you said you gave them full waivers, but then when a 63 unit complex comes, then we give them full waivers. Now that we're talking about another potential 50, 60, 70, 80 a year, it's like, when does it stop, or what's the limitation, is all that I'm asking as a board. It has nothing to do with anybody's art being wrong, or somebody trying to be malicious, or whatever. It has to do with the fact that because we don't have a policy in place, and we don't have a holding ground, we can't explain it. Even the people on the board, the different departments, it's been explained. When I talked to Blake, when I talked to Glenn, when I talked to Bill, it all sounds different. So the ideal that lack of transparency exists from the public eye is a very real concern. Is it real on paper? Heck no. Heck no. I'll go on record in front of anybody saying you guys aren't belittling things, but is the ideal there that it could be perceived that way? Heck yes.
Okay, I would like to bring the discussion to an end. I think we've all, made our points.
We have a motion in the second ring.
But I would like to say one more time, everybody's gotta work harder, gotta go out, find other entities. Whoever they are, everybody says we've done the best we can. We gotta work harder.
Can I say one more thing, Gene?
Say again?
Can I, just one more point, is the board's position that affordable housing also pays the affordable housing fee?
Yeah, that's always been the position, is that every unit pays the affordable housing fee, even the recipients of affordable housing waivers.
Okay, so.
Even government entities who anybody who gets a water bill pays that, yes, Peter.
Right.
So.
And the theory being, if I could speak, if the theory being that if you build affordable housing, you're gonna get a waiver to help out your affordable housing tenants. But you're gonna be paying back into that fund as we go forward, right?
Right.
What if you don't get a waiver?
You're also paying it.
So basically, I gotta go back to my 12 units, my 20 plus tenants and say, yeah, you're in affordable housing, but you gotta keep paying the affordable housing fee, even though you got no benefit from it. Correct? Is that what the board's position is?
I believe so, and I guess I would ask why shouldn't you now? You're a part of the big family that we've been talking about all night.
I don't feel part of the family yet. It depends on the vote. I don't feel part of the family. It depends on the vote.
Well, I understand that, but.
All right, why don't you just go ahead and bring the vote?
Okay, discussion closes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Motion fails. And okay, let us move on to number 10, consideration of management of the Running Iron Ranch. Who wants to take that?
We have the engagement letter for the 2025 audit.
Oh, sorry. Let's discuss the engagement letter for the 2025 audit from Roddy Farmer LLC. That was in your board packet. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question, I guess, for Renee. Is there a generally accepted pattern among special districts that you do 5 years with this auditor and then you change auditors because a new auditor is going to give you a different perspective? That you don't just go 20 years with the same auditor? Is that a typical behavior of special districts?
I have not seen that, but nothing precludes us from maybe considering that. maybe next year though with the timing, this being, with the loss of our CFO. First and foremost, secondly, Ronnie does start audit work in December. So I think we may want to put it out to bid and see what we get in return.
I don't think you'll beat him in bid. I'm just,
And considering
he's
other,
very reasonable.
yeah, I appreciate that comment. Yeah, I haven't seen that, but I can appreciate why that might be a benefit. So we can certainly look into that next year if you'd like to do that. I'm happy.
My recollection in years past is, it's considered a professional service, just like an attorney. And so you don't have to go out to bid, you certainly can. But because it's a professional service, you don't have to. That's my recollection anyway.
Yeah, I don't think Bill's concern is the cost. I think it's just, is it prudent to have?
Is it,
eyes on the folks?
change your auditor now on that?
Mhm.
That's the
I
question.
know on the PLPOA board, of course, we were happy with where we were at. We knew, but I think we were with the same person the whole time I was there, which was over a 10-year period.
Do I hear a motion to accept the?
I will move to accept the 2026 engagement letter for the 2025 audit from Ronnie Farmer LLC.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Passes unanimously. Number 10, consideration of management of the Running Iron Ranch. Is that a Justin thing?
Well, there's not a whole lot to discuss on that. I think it's a discussion that the board or the subcommittee is gonna have with San Juan Water Conservancy District on how we want to set that management up. I think it is unreasonable to continue having pause do the entire thing. And I think we need to figure out, are they gonna take it over? Are we do the status quo, we're gonna keep doing it, or do we hire a third in conjunction with San Juan, hire a third party to oversee the maintenance of 690 acres?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see our subcommittee sit down with the San Juan subcommittee and have some discussions. One, what is the scope of the management? I mean, what are going to be the focuses of the management? And then whether we want to hand whatever that scope is over to a professional manager, and that may be dependent upon the actual scope that we want. And then some agreement about cost sharing, which I could probably guess what it might be, but there's no reason not to have a friendly discussion about cost sharing. But I think our subcommittee is ideal for that.
Which is you and I.
Yeah, it used to be you and Glenn, I think.
Yeah, that was not ideal.
Yeah, and we've talked about the issues. The issues are overseeing the gravel operation remediation, fencing, the bark ditch.
Weed control.
Weed control,
Demolition.
all of that, was it trespass nuisance they call it? Things such as attractive nuisance, those types of things. So it's
So
not.
there probably, it ultimately needs to be a budget approved by both districts.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna spend 300,000 this year.
So do we need to make a vote to instruct the subcommittee to do that, or is that just within their purview already?
I don't think you need to vote. I think it'd be prudent for the subcommittee to meet with their subcommittee and try to come up with something. And
As soon as you can.
if that fails, then we can talk about the next step, but I think we should give that a shot first.
Do you wanna reach out, Glenn? I mean, Gene?
I resemble that. Let's
It
see.
used to be Glenn.
I can, but I would like some clarification on that section of the revised 2015 agreement. On one word.
Well, I think that clarification is gonna come from the courts, so I know we're going to wait for that.
I mean, maybe, I think that should, you guys could just discuss that and try to find a compromise. I mean, yeah,
Okay,
you know,
Candace is still on there, so I'll reach out to her, but it's gonna have to be fairly soon, because
Well, it would be Rob and Chuck.
yeah,
Rob and Chuck are their subcommittee.
Rob Hager.
Yeah, well, anybody can come, but, right?
I would think, yeah.
Yeah. It just has to be noticed that there's more than two people there. Okay. Yeah, I'll reach out to her. It's gotta be fairly soon because I'm gone again. I'm right. Yeah, I guess it is. I'll reach out to Candace and we'll see if I can set something up.
The next one, I don't think we need to discuss. We're moving that to Monday. We've already.
Yes, Renee, you will notice Monday's meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we'll be making the decision on the district manager position, our finalists on Monday. So.
Yep, that's good enough.
And for Monday, can we get as much written information about any finalists as you have received?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have all of that. Do you want hard copies or would you like me to scan it and send it to the full board?
And would you like the discussion that we've had? Is that what you're talking about? Like their resumes, or are you talking about like how the interviews went and like all the detailed information about them that we find relevant to their position?
Just whatever you have written.
Okay.
And you want the finalists or you want all again?
There's only five, so.
So we're only recommending maybe one, maybe two. So I.
Okay.
So you
Whichever one's the subcommittee's recommending.
Okay,
Scan the one we got tonight and send it, please.
okay.
And if you get updates from this person, additional information.
And, just so, we're clear, I think the applications for the position, technically close on Saturday, I think 2 days from now. So, we don't anticipate getting it in more, but if we do, we'll want them scanned and sent as well.
Okay.
That's Saturday at midnight, that Friday at midnight, that's Saturday at 5, we want to announce that on the website.
We are gonna put it on the website. Do you want it to be midnight or do you want to be like close of business Friday or Saturday at midnight?
Saturday at midnight would be my suggestion, so we get that full
Saturday at midnight.
30 days. That would be my suggestion.
Sure.
Just one member.
I agree.
Manager's talking points.
Okay, water loss, we don't have the water loss report out, but the water loss report this month is gonna be similar to make believe anyway. There was the Oak Creek fire, the fire department did connect into our hydrants and pulled water out. How much is your guess is kind of mine, but we will get that out with the best guess we have. Probably don't have that now. Ground management plan is.
And we gave that water.
That water was given away, yeah. Drought management plan, we're still in stage 2. I tried to update you guys. I look at the, look at those data points once a week. Hatcher's going down, river's going up. And so that's why we're still pretty firmly in stage 2. The bills from when we went into stage 2 are now out. And so anybody that not commercial, but residential users that use over 4,000 were charged a higher fee for that water above 4,000, amounted in about $450,000 of additional charges this last month. And some people aren't happy with that.
450,000 total.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we've gotten a lot of calls. I assume at some point you guys will start getting calls. I was surprised there was nobody at this meeting here to complain about that. We have received, we talked about waivers at the last meeting. I've received 5 waivers. We'd allowed the waiver for the school so they could water their new sod. The other waivers were all waivers for that additional cost for water. I just kind of blatantly saying we're not gonna give waivers on any fees.
Fees, because those are.
Those waivers, those additional fees are serve 2 purposes. One is to try to get you to use less water. And 2, as Hatcher drops down, it costs us more to treat that water. There is a cost to the district as Hatcher goes down. And so that fee is to cover some of those costs. So I've said no to those.
Do you want to speak to the breakdown of the 450?
I have a question for you, Justin.
Surely.
What is the lowest you've ever seen Hatcher? What's it by percentage? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know. I know a couple years we're well above 8 feet down. I'm not sure.
Yeah, between 7 and 8 feet.
Yeah.
So we're like 47% is, I'm obviously only been on a year. Is that unprecedented or have we experienced worse than?
Oh, no, we've had worse than this.
Okay.
The lake, interesting that the lake's actually in pretty good shape for this time of year. For two reasons. One is they cut our water off middle of June, which is they typically do a 4 mile, but they gave us a CFS right away. And we had that through July. So we had water, and so the lake just maintained, and we didn't start dropping until the end of July, early August. So the lake's not in bad shape. What drove us into stage 2 was the river. The river's been, I don't think anybody's ever, even Art says he's never seen the river at 7 CFS. That was extremely low. We started getting some rain in the high country, that's what's raised up. We're still at 30 CFS. It's still not a huge amount of water, but that's kind of why but because of that reason, we're not in stage 3 or stage 4 at this point.
And Cindy did a little research into the drought stage 2 fees and that revenue that was generated. It was very interesting. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so the way that it works out with how we have the tiers set up, it begins at 4,000 to 8,000, and that's 2 times our standard tier rate. So, and the same thing applies for tier 2 and tier 3. And so the figures that I came up with is that customers that are using below 20,000 gallons in a month are not going to exceed approximately, I want to say it was $335. So the customers that are coming in that we received majority of the calls for today were customers that had used in excess of 20,000 plus gallons. Those are the ones that are really being hit with the really high rate, because once you hit that 20,000 gallons, you're being charged 2 times the standard tier rate. The standard tier rate at tier 3 is $15.04. So 2 times that is $30.08. So per 1,000, they're getting billed that additional cost. So majority of the customers that are getting charged a large amount in that drought rate, and I understand that $300 is a lot, but when you're
gallons is a lot.
But when you're looking at the amount of usage that comes into play, these customers that are calling that are so upset about these rates are falling in that above 20,000 range, where their bill for that drought rate is significant because their usage is significant.
Right.
So
But those might be customers who, absent the drought surcharge, have chosen not to buy additional EUs, even though their usage is regularly in the summer above 8,000 gallons. And now they've been hit with the drought, and it hurts particularly. I mean, I'd be sympathetic to somebody who suffered a leak, and but somebody's habitual use is over 20,000 gallons a month. I mean, I don't know how you can have an actual credible drought response plan that caters to that.
And we, if you have a leak, we have a leak plan, and you wouldn't be subject to that drought rate. We'd get you off that if you had a leak and you met our leak requirements where you got it fixed in a reasonable amount of time. So that's not really who's getting hit, it's people that use a lot of water.
we had one of those today, and we are offering that same leak rate adjustment to the drought rate as well. It is going in place. So it's those customers, if they do qualify for our leak rate adjustment policy, then they are also going to be receiving an adjustment to that drought rate along with their water rate adjustment as well. And we did have one of those today. So.
20,000 gallons of water.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, this is only residential. So that's the residential use.
Commercial is not being hit.
No, they don't be hit till stage 3.
That's 6 months worth of water.
Right.
It's over, that's probably 2 years for me.
Carl, have you got a comment?
Yes, thank you. I know one of the goals of the rate hike for the drought is to reduce consumption. Have you seen any progress on that, or do you not expect to see anything until people actually get their bills? Thank you.
It'll probably take us a couple months before all the numbers come in that we can look at that. So yeah, you are right, our goal is 20 to 30% reduction. We'll have to just wait after everything flushes out to see where we hit with that.
And that's another thing that the drought rate pays for is everybody's reducing their water use. So they're not paying as much.
Yeah.
So that's the third thing.
Sure,
Yeah,
the third leg of the stool.
the third leg of the stool. Yeah. Because the stool was falling over before we had that third.
Anything else, Justin?
Pagosa Lake, made notice, Pagosa Lake is very low, we had to drop it we got about 6 more inches to drop it. It's to repair lift station 7, there was a reason for that. Lift station 7 is a lift station and a sewer line that was built on the lake, basically. And so and that was done 50 years ago, so we're rebuilding that, we need to drop the lake. They started that work today, or Monday, I mean, and so that's moving forward. We also decided, we have lift station 12, which is on the lake as well, which we were planning on rebuilding next year. And we thought, let's just build this year so we don't have to drop the lake again. It's gonna cause a budget override that we'll have to talk with you guys about, but it just seemed prudent to just take care of it right now. And so we didn't have to go through this hassle with the lake.
But those lift stations, when you do it, is there anything that can be done? Obviously, I'm guessing not affordably to like raise it, like as far as like, I'm almost thinking about like a riser or something.
Well, yeah, we can do that with the manhole, but it's still within the water and it's still.
Okay.
So we had to go down there, so we have to reseal those, because they're leaking as part of our I&I, and you can't reseal those when you have wastewater draining into them, that's one of the problems. And interesting enough, as I've said, these were all done 50 years ago, we have no sets of plans that show sewer lines in the lake. But the powers that were in 50 years ago thought, yeah, it'd be cheaper to build in lake than to build where it's more prudent to build it, so we're suffering through that right now. And I always tell people, I was 4 years old when those were installed, and I was not consulted. Even at 4 years old, I would have said, Dad, I gave this thing at 4 years old, but I would. So anyway, that's where we're at, that's where we're at. Yes, sir.
59 years, not 50. Cove and Lou.
Oh, 59 years.
What
Oh,
if
I
you-
was not even alive. so-
And how does
But I'm
lift
still-
Lift Station 6 fit into this?
With lift station 7, lift station 6 is already built, but we're resealing it.
Oh,
We're not resealing 6, the overflow tanks, we're resealing.
When do you anticipate filling the lake back up?
Another month.
Okay, cool.
So as soon as
I
seven is
gave out
done,
corrected for me.
we'll run over to 12 and start doing 12, and as soon as that's done, we'll start filling it.
How about we refill it, just
Stevens.
okay, so we have a connection from Stevens to there. Yes, okay.
Stevens is daisy trained to Lake Pagosa. Lake Pagosa is daisy chained to Village, and Village is daisy chained to.
It's not really a connection, right? It's a creek.
It's a valve.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
the valve.
there's not a pipe going to.
It's an irrigation.
It's an irrigation
Yeah.
valve.
Yeah.
And then we do have we don't, but the golf course has a pump in Village Lake that can pump water to Indian Lake.
Which pumps water to the golf course. And that's something that a lot of customers aren't aware of, I think. You see condos, some of the condos irrigating a fair amount, and there's some awful green grass out there. But they are irrigating with raw water out of the lake under a legal contractual agreement. But people don't know that. Well, why are they being able to use drinking water when we can't? They're not using drinking water. So that's just, full transparency that there's a.
Yeah, the agreement that Ponds took on when they took. The golf course had their own water rights. They gave those water rights to Ponds for Ponds to provide them water. The agreement was we will guarantee them 300 acre feet a year, period. And if we don't have 300 acre feet, I'm not sure what we're gonna do. We're guaranteed to give that to them. They typically use about 200 but they're not obligated to meet any of our drought requirements. It's never put into their agreement, so we're just.
So that's why you see condos and,
Other facility.
I'm not sure that there's any commercial stuff on there, but a lot of condos, probably close to 1,000.
Golf course, commercial.
Golf course.
Well, yeah, golf course is commercial.
Windows. All.
It's 200,000 gallons of water a day.
That's a lot of water. That's a lot of water. Wow. Anything else, Justin?
Snowball, just give you an update on Snowball. We are planning on having water into the distribution system from a new plant October 1st.
Yeah. You got the whole pumping thing on Snowball Road figured out?
No,
No.
we're working on it.
Okay.
We're close. We're pretty close.
Yeah, we have, we're able to do it.
It's
I love it when a plan falls together.
We also, we had decided, when we had the budget override, or if it was too high of a budget, we started cutting things off. One of the things we cut off was a centrifuge. And then with the regulations coming out, we realized we really needed centrifuge. Renee was able to run out and get us a grant, so we got the centrifuge. It's supposed to be put in March or April. The company's contacted us and said that they will have the centrifuge ready for us in December. So we'll start putting the centrifuge in there as soon as we get it. Well, so that's just part of the plan. The plan can operate without it.
Yeah. Thank you again, Renee.
You're welcome.
Well, you keep getting all this money, but we appreciate it.
Vista upgrades, it's on schedule. The new bar screen is in, and a bar screen is where every bit of nasty water that comes into the plant goes through this little screen that takes out the tennis ball and chicken bones and wedding rings and all that stuff. It's an automatic bar screen, so as it fills up, it pushes everything into a dumpster. When that bar screen went down, the guys had to do that manually, which is not a pleasant job. So they were all very happy that that bar screen is in. The clarifier concrete, the floor and walls are in, so that's moving forward. We'll start testing that. They want us leakage testing that with potable water. So we're talking to engineers and saying, why can't we use wastewater? It's a wastewater thing, and we really don't want to waste however many hundreds of thousands of gallons it is to leak test that with clean water. So that's kind of where we're at. So it's moving forward. It's been a relatively painless project.
Can I have the old Hubert?
Still have somewhere, yeah. We have it. Yeah. That's all. That's all I got.
All right, okay. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Any other decision or any other business brought before the board? I did have a couple things I wanted to say real quick. First off, I would like to do a Snowball water treatment plant ribbon cutting, like some sort of ceremony. I think this is the largest project ever completed in Archuleta County. And I think that, that'd be a good idea to invite the public out and show them what we have done with their money. I think it's an outstanding looking plant, so I would like to do that.
But in the spring?
I think that would probably be best. What do you think? Like after it's dry?
Well, I think it should be after. So we're gonna be putting water, let's kind of like the schedule. We're gonna be putting water in the system October 1st, but we still have a lot to do. We have to still show the
Right.
availability.
Oh, yeah.
You have to grade it around there.
We need to make it safe.
We need to make it safe and make sure there's not contractors stuff around. So that's probably gonna be March before that's ready. So we may want.
But I'd like to do something at some point. I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
And then,
It could be April.
Yeah, when it's not muddy and.
When it's not
and stuff
muddy,
like that.
yeah.
We don't have enough hard hats and safety vests.
and then I think, this year has been a really challenging year at Pause, with some change ups with the horrible winter we just went through. And I would like to put on a dinner for our staff at some point. I think they've worked really hard. I know everybody's carrying some stress right now with the changes going on and some appreciation to the staff, I
I don't know
think.
how you could afford that kind of thing, Alex.
I'm not doing this with you right now, Bill. And then my final thing is I would like to, see us in the next couple board meetings, start going back to our mission statement and focusing on making progress on connecting Stevens and Hatcher and connecting District 1 and District 2 and just moving towards the objectives of water and sewer and start focusing hardcore on those things. That would be my desire as a board member. So I'm done talking.
Okay.
And I'm just starting.
I have a couple of things. Because despite there might be a prevailing idea that I don't value transparency, clarity, or predictability, but I value all of those things. And I think, and I also respect majority decisions of the board. I think I always have. And since I think there's a pretty fixed reluctance right now to grant waivers, I think we should either very transparently let people know that we're putting our present housing waiver policy either in suspension, or we should simply revoke it at the next meeting. So people are not going to the website or relying on some sense that we're going to be issuing waivers. I think that's just fair. I mean, I'll vote against it, but I understand the position, the majority position of the board, and I'm not going to make this another occasion for us to have a Donnybrook. But I just think for bookkeeping, our policy should match the decided majority. I think that's, and I would like us to consider at the next meeting or perhaps the following meeting, removing the water and the wastewater surcharges. And that as we go forward into a rate study, that we're no longer assessing that to our customers, since I kind of agreed to that. This is personal, as a compromise to extend waivers. And if we're not extending waivers, and that's the majority opinion, I think we should do away with the surcharges.
Agreed.
So
Okay.
not the
And
next
again,
meeting.
I'm not creating, this is not an opportunity to create a Donnybrook. This is just, let's, memorialize the very solid majority opinion on the board right now, which I disagree with, but I respect completely.
Well, and I would say that we did vote yes on one, that clearly falls under 80%. And I think that it was just confusing because I agree with what you said, Glenn, but I've heard that too, that if it's less than 80%, board will vote yes on it. If it's between 80 and 100%, we'll consider it. But again, even when the CDC came in, they couldn't even tell us what their numbers were, and every number they talked about tonight was 100 or over. So again, that not being even in our policy as a consideration rate, I think that was confusing to me personally, because every number she mentioned was we're struggling to even get under 120. So
Right, but
I agree.
I could be wrong, but if a LIHTC project were to come in next week proposing 70 units at 80% and below, when I put all of your concerns together, which I respect your concerns and your point of views, that project is not going to get support because we've already supported. I think, if we're not going to support affordable housing, and Alex was very clear, he demarcated kind of the exceptional way in which he was dealing with this year's, which I think is, very valuable. He laid out exactly how limited his support was in time. If we're not going to be supporting them going forward, let's just be very honest and transparent that we're not doing it. And that's fine. That allows developers to pivot and to move downtown where they may find, more support from the PSS GID. It's good for everyone.
I think that's a good point. I would like to see us look at any project on its own merit at the board's discretion. But if that's difficult, and knowing that we're probably going to get more in 2026, if we have to stop the policy until we get all the ducks in a row, get a rate study going, talking about maybe moving away from fixture counts, etc. There's a lot of discussion to be had, so I think your point's well taken, Glenn.
We'll put that on the next month's agenda.
We-
Let's wait before.
We will, what day is, I don't remember off the top of my.
Because all these things are gonna take months,
The next regular.
especially the rate study.
We don't have time. If we change the rates, we have to do a 30-day notice in the Sun. And so it's not just an increase.
No, I meant maybe January 1st. Let's end this fiscal year. And then if the board so chooses, just end the collection on January 1st, 2026.
Okay.
Because otherwise you're.
And I think with the rate study, there's gonna be, I think we're gonna figure this all out, and I hope that we come to a reasonable compromise going forward, so.
let me look
Well,
at the calendar and see how to structure that, Glenn, so that we
Yeah,
can.
okay.
I think there'll be many conversations after the meeting and before the next meeting between us that will work some of this out.
Monthly water.
My suggestion would to keep it very simple. You could say state law permits water districts to extend waivers for affordable housing and childcare. Such projects can petition the board for a waiver or reduction of fees. That's all. You can do it. It doesn't, there's no guarantee you're gonna get it. It just state,
Yeah.
something like that. Let's not do the 80 here, 80 to 100 here. Maybe, I think that does. It's from both perspectives, it doesn't work. And again, let's give.
And I think to the board's credit at the time, I think it was probably a pretty good policy when, OSB was $30 a sheet. Then it jumped up to almost 80, now it's rested somewhere around 60. 80% is a lot harder to hit than it was when that was actually instituted. I mean, Blake was a builder, the guy who instituted the fee. And even he said, that doesn't make sense now because you can't hit those numbers just because of building materials alone. So.
And you know what, I want.
He just signed a house for the CDC. He just signed his contract. And he hit 80%, right at 80, made it by a couple $100. It is possible, but it is very difficult.
Yeah,
So-
and just to be fair to Blake, I'm not using Blake because, like I said, this was a compromise approach. I believe in his heart, Blake would have preferred no surcharges on the monthly bill or on capital and no waivers. So let's be clear, I'm not trying to fob this. This was a compromise of a board that was trying to support affordable housing, but also pay for it, as a majority of the board actually saw the costs of the project. So I have nothing but the utmost respect for Blake Bruckner.
But I just want to share with the board that one of the reasons policies are developed is so that a developer who is going to spend $300,000 knows in advance what they need to do to make this project pencil. And if we just say, we don't have a policy, bring your project to us, that makes it more difficult for a developer to plan ahead. I'm not saying I'm not gonna support it, but the reason we had a policy was so that Habitat could know that it's very likely they were gonna come in and get a waiver because they met the policy. The policy did say the board can decide not to give out waivers. That's our existing policy says you can decide not to give out waivers. But by drawing those lines and saying 80% and below is where we will consider it, then a developer knows if they're not at 80%, they're not gonna bother to come here. But if you just say, we'll listen to anybody,
As long as.
that's a lot more work. It's a lot more work for the staff.
Well, I'm not worried about that. I think this is a discussion to have, we have this agenda item.
Yeah,
Can we adjourn this meeting? Motion made.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Thanks, Glenn.
all right, enjoy the rain.